When I was 9 years old, I started my entrepreneurial journey with a lemonade stand that I was able to raise enough money to build a school in Kenya, Africa with. A little while later, I decided to combine my passion for doing good and my love of Pokemon cards because, yeah, I was still your average 9-year-old kid who's into Pokemon. And so, I created my own card game with a positive twist of doing good, and I ended up going on the national television show Dragon's Den and have since sold over 650 packs of cards. It didn't all go well though, and in fact, there was a time in my life when I was paralyzed. And I don't mean that I physically couldn't move, but rather that I suffered from something that I would like to call analysis paralysis. I had so many ideas floating around in my head, but I just didn't even know where to start. And so this led to inaction and procrastination. You see, we live in the information age with limitless information readily available right at our fingertips. But the problem with this information overload is that it can easily lead to us feeling overwhelmed, and so procrastination takes over. Luckily though, I learned how to overcome analysis paralysis and gain massive momentum in my own life, which is what has led me to where I am now today. The first thing that you need to understand is that Newton's first law of motion, where he states that an object in motion stays in motion, applies to us as well. The way to defeat analysis paralysis is to harness this power of momentum, which is the driving force of all great human accomplishment. And over the course of this talk, I'll be sharing with you 3 principles of momentum that you can leverage to achieve massive results. Okay, so first of all, you probably have some big goals you want to accomplish one day, and I assure you that that is the surefire way to achieve failure. Saying the words one day is the perfect way to destroy all hopes of ever accomplishing your dreams. Instead of saying one day, decide to make today your day one and just take that first step. You need to understand that you're letting your limiting beliefs keep you caged. You act like you aren't ready yet, that you don't have the necessary skill sets or resources or connections, or maybe you just genuinely think you have no idea where to even begin. But you need to understand that deep down, you know exactly what you need to do to accomplish even your biggest goals. You want to be a YouTuber? Don't procrastinate because you don't have a nice camera. Just pull out the camera on your phone and start recording and improve as you go. You want to be a published author? Just pull out the notes on your phone and start typing away. G.K. Chesterton said that anything worth doing is worth doing badly. Just start, and don't worry about how bad it may be at the start. Just trust in the process and improve as you go. When I auditioned for Dragon's Den, I was just a 9-year-old kid with a pretty premature idea. But I wouldn't let that stop me. I decided to just take action, to just take that leap of faith. And I'm super glad that I did, because it is what has led me to where I am now today. You need to get outside of your comfort zone consistently, like I did, in order to grow. And a great way to do that is just go for it, whatever that it may be for you. You see, the problem is you're left with a choice. You can either choose to go down the path that justifies mediocrity or the one that enables you to execute. And I think that although one option may be more comfortable in the short term, in order to achieve massive success and crush your goals, you need to get outside of your comfort zone consistently. Don't justify, execute. Take action today and improve as you go. Because like Picasso said, only put off until tomorrow what you would be willing to die having left undone. So to illustrate my next point, I want you to think of a recent assignment or project that you had to complete. So I'm sure at the start you thought you'd start right away and sort of chip away at it over time, eventually leading up to the due date. But sure enough, time slips by and the due date's tomorrow and you haven't even started. So you quickly get an absolute focus and you kind of whip something up. And not that I'm pro procrastination or anything, but I'm sure that in that last minute focus session, you're able to produce around the same quality of work if you would have actually spread out your work over time while spending a lot less time. So I want you to imagine for a second, and the reason for this is because when you just sit down and get to work, eventually the momentum just starts rolling and all of the ideas and concepts just start flooding in and everything starts connecting. But the person that really chops up their work never really gets in the zone like this, and they waste a lot of time because of the time that it takes to transition and refocus. So I want you to imagine for a second that you have a car. You want to push all the way from point A to point B. The example of the method of the non-procrastinator would be to push for a little bit, and then just as it starts rolling, they'd maybe stop and take a quick break, and then start again from square one, pushing, and then just as it starts going, they stop, and they do this over and over again. The example of the method of the master procrastinator, on the other hand, would be maybe they go and procrastinate and do something else for a little bit, but then when they finally sit down and get to work, they just start pushing and they keep to it. And eventually it gets rolling and the momentum gets going and it picks up, and eventually it gets to the point where they don't even really have to do anything. They just let momentum do its job. So if you're able to leverage this principle of momentum, it'll allow you to get things done so much faster. And so rather than just procrastinating until the very end, you can just have insane focus right at the very start and get things done so much faster, so you'd have so much more time to get ahead or work on other things. So on the larger scale, this simple principle could even allow you to complete your decade goals in just 1 year, if you're able to properly structure your time to work with time rather than against it. Because yes, time does fly, but you are the pilot. So a great example of this would be J.K. Rowling. When she was writing her final book of the Harry Potter series, she wanted to escape the everyday distractions of everyday life, and so she checked herself into a hotel room in order to get in a state of absolute isolated focus. And so she was able to focus in writing her book, and she was able to probably get it done so much faster than if she had chopped up her work overtime, while also actually probably producing a much better quality of work. And this stuff that I've been talking about isolated focus and absolute focus over a period of time to gain momentum, I wasn't just assuming. This stuff is actually backed by science. When you're in a state of absolute isolated focus for a period of time, a white tissue called myelin develops over your neurons, and it actually makes your brain cells fire much faster, thus making you more effective and creative. So leverage this principle of absolute focus to achieve your decade goals in just 1 year. Okay, the final part to this is that you need to set insanely big goals. You need to set your goals so high so that they motivate you, because although motivation is in fact temporary, motive is lasting. If you have a clear motive and you allow that to guide your day-to-day decisions towards eventually accomplishing a greater goal, then nothing will be able to stop you. So I bet you didn't know that a domino can knock over the next domino being 50% larger. So by the 23rd domino, you'd be able to knock over the next domino being the size of the Eiffel Tower. And by the 57th domino, you'd be able to knock over the next domino being tall enough to reach the moon. So starting with that little 2-inch block, you can eventually knock over huge things. And this applies to us and our goals as well. Because you can set your goals high, but in order to get there, you need to start today on the smaller tasks that are right in front of you. So shoot for the moon and aim high, but then start on those smaller tasks that start that domino effect and gain momentum towards achieving those bigger goals. Okay, so this whole formula that I've laid out for you today has the power to change your life. But the worst thing that you could do is just watch this talk and then carry on living reactively and just sort of going through the motions. Although information is in fact a powerful tool, information without application means nothing. But information plus application is when you reach a transformation. So start today and lay out your biggest goals that may seem impossible, and then 10x those goals, because I assure you that you can accomplish whatever you set your mind to. Today is the first day of the rest of your lives, so start today on the first step that's right in front of you and gain momentum towards your biggest goals, and nothing will be able to stop you. Thanks.